Welcome to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Siobhan Gubin. Here are the stories that we're following today, September 12, 2013. In Jamaica, a prisoner is dead, cops nursing injuries after brawl at Mandeville lockup. In Trinidad and Tobago, licks for Larry. Also in Trinidad and Tobago, outgunned gangsters' firepower greater than that of the cops. And Guyana records 30 murders in 70 days. Details on these headlines and more when we return.
Hey, excuse me, if you see me smiling, that's 'cause I'm chilling on Total Caribbean Network. It's your boy Wyclef Jean, man, and I'm chillin', man. Total Caribbean Network. Man, I love their style. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Welcome back to CAN, Caribbean Affiliate News. My name is Siobhan Gubin. This segment of the news is sponsored by Total Caribbean Network. In the news from Jamaica, a male prisoner is now dead and several police officers nursing injuries following a riot at the Mandeville police lockup shortly after midday on Wednesday. One of the injured policemen is listed as serious. It was reported that he was hit repeatedly in the face and head with a baton by one of the prisoners. The identity of the prisoner who died is being withheld until his relatives are informed. The Mandeville police reported that the cops were in the process of taking prisoners from the lockup to the courthouse when the prisoners started to resist. Two officers, including a woman sergeant, tried to calm the situation but were attacked and beaten by the prisoners. That incident triggered a melee. After the confrontation, all the injured were taken to the hospital where the prisoner died and the injured officers admitted. The matter has been reported to the Independent Commission of Investigations. In the news from Trinidad and Tobago, when Finance Minister Larry Huwai walked into a post-budget forum yesterday inside a Port of Spain hotel, he did not expect to be like a lone batsman playing against a team of vicious, fast-bowling economic experts. By the time the onslaught on his 2014 fiscal package was over about 2 hours later, Huwai admitted jokingly that he was a little worse for wear. The American Chamber of Commerce post-budget forum at the Capital Plaza Hotel was punctuated by cricket references yesterday, with speakers referring to the fast and steady pace of criticisms against Huwai's $61 billion budget presented in Parliament on Monday. As Huwai listened at the head table, speakers waded into aspects of his budget statement titled Sustaining Growth, Securing Prosperity. Anza McCall Group Chief Operating Officer Jerry Brooks raised concerns about how budgetary allocations were being spent on the education sector. Huwai allocated $9.82 billion toward education and training in the 2013 to 2014 budget. Brooks suggested that even with more than $8 billion being spent annually every year, you hear schools not opening for the new term. He added that government's gate facilities to subsidize tuition fees has to be modified. He noted Huwai's budget comment that 70,000 pupils had laptop computers and suggested to the minister that principals are needed to ensure that homework and lessons were put on the laptops so children could complete assignments even if schools did not open at the start of the term. With regard to the crime scourge challenging the country, Brooks said $20 billion had been spent by government in 4 years on anti-crime measures. He says, but none of us are comfortable here with what's happening with crime. He told Huwai to mumble agreement from the audience jammed into the first-floor meeting room of the Capital Plaza. Even as he said the private sector was willing to help in any way it could, Brooks told the minister that detection rates needed to improve along with the arms of law enforcement. Economist Indira Sejwan Ali said government had spent $226 billion in its budget since 2011, but the country was not any closer to achieving many of its development objectives. She said the budget aimed to make the country more attractive to foreign visitors through its tourism product. The audience chuckled in agreement. Sejun Ali also scoffed at Hawaii's agriculture allocations of $1.3 billion, saying it was the same as last year. Land allocations to farmers did not equal agricultural growth, she said, noting that the poultry industry was also in trouble because of imported chicken, which had a high hormone content. Tax line leader at accounting firm Ernst & Young Caribbean, Wade George, spoke of the return to land and building taxes, noting that revenues collected from this instrument traditionally were lower than other countries. He said government needed to be careful with the implementation of the tax. Also in Trinidad and Tobago, gangsters are brandishing far superior high-tech weapons than the police and other law enforcement agencies in that country. Photographs obtained by a news channel investigative team from well-placed intelligence sources show 3 young men posing with those weapons. 2 of the men are holding 2 of the guns in their hands, while the next man with a thick gold chain is holding one in his hand. In another photograph, the man with the gold chain is sitting on a rock and has 2 guns on his lap and 2 in his hands. All the guns in the picture appear spanking new. These photographs were taken in late June this year in the Laventille area and have raised major concerns in law enforcement circles as they grapple with the homicide rate that has escalated in that area in the last 2 months. Sources at the Police Crime and Problem Analysis Branch said at least 85% of the homicides for the year are gun-related. The reason for this mounting concern is the firepower that these gangsters are packing. The guns in the pictures are no ordinary guns. They are in fact AR-15 guns. This semi-automatic weapon in the hands of proven criminals can do serious damage. Allison Hamilton, Assistant Secretary of the Trinidad Rifle Association, who has expertise about these weapons, shared his insight. And I quote, "What I know is that they are used by the U.S. Army and a lot of other armies around the world, so they are serious weapons of war. For weapons like that to be in the hands of people on the street is a frightening situation." The AR-15's firing capacity lives up to its menacing appearance. This semi-automatic weapon fires 1 round per pull of the trigger before reloading itself. So while it cannot unleash a hail of bullets like a fully automatic weapon, it can fire as quickly as the gunman can pull the trigger. This was in fact the exact weapon used by alleged shooter James Holmes in the Colorado theater shooting at the premiere of The Dark Knight on July 20th last year, in which 12 people were killed and more than 70 injured. Several gun experts online describe this weapon as rugged, reliable, portable, and accurate. Intelligence police sources say gangsters there use 2 different types of ammunition with the AR-15, with either one having deadly consequences. The fragmentation of these ammunitions can do greater damage to humans internally, traveling at a high velocity, Hamilton pointed out. A testimony to the commissioner's words came in May this year following the John John protests. Intelligence sources revealed to reporters that gangsters warned police not to venture up the tracks and other areas since they would be sniped by shooters. To date, according to Williams, the police have recovered 232 firearms, and though he views this as a high number in his books, it is still not enough. In fact, in police gun seizures for the year, they never once came upon a weapon like the AR-15, Williams indicated. Intelligence sources are convinced these specific weapons are not only coming from South America, but also directly from the USA, since these kinds of weapons can be easily broken down and concealed for shipment. The mere fact that the police aren't able to find these guns is worrisome and terrifying, said the top cop. The critical thing, he says, when we look at weapons like those is about getting them off the streets, because weapons like those could hurt this country big time. The flow of blood which can be generated through the use of any one of those weapons could be massive and disastrous, said Williams as he shifted uneasily in his chair. But the question really is how these guns are getting into the country and what's the deal on the streets. Williams said they are planning to tighten up security at the seaports and airports as they attempt to clamp down on contraband entering the country. But one crime boss along the East-West corridor says the condition that he concealed his identity did not sugarcoat his underworld dealings with guns, drugs, and other nefarious activities. In Guyana, going into the last quarter of the year, the Guyana police force is facing a worrying increase in criminal activity. Recent figures released by the Police Criminal Investigations Department show that at the end of August, there was a 6% increase in serious crimes in comparison with the corresponding period last year. The serious crimes include murder, robbery under arms, robbery with violence, larceny from the person, break and enter and larceny, burglary, rape, and kidnapping. Up to the period in question, January 1st to August 31st, there were 155 more reports of serious crimes than for the same period last year. If this trend continues, the figures could rival those of the crime wave years. Already there are close to 92 murders recorded so far for the year. The police figures show that at the end of August, 85 murders were committed, a 4% increase on the 2012 figure. And with 6 more murders so far for this month, the situation is a bit worrying. The figures reveal that there were 31 murders between the beginning of July and present. Of the 85 murders at the end of August, 35 were of the disorderly type, 14 were committed during armed robberies, 13 were domestic related, while the other 22 are so far undetermined. Execution style remains static at 1 up to August month end, but this figure has increased with 2 more such killings within the past 10 days. Georgetown and its environs continue to lead with the most murders, 27 at the end of August, which is now 31, followed closely by the interior, which has recorded 26 murders so far. Essequibo remains the safest region in Guyana in terms of murder, with 1 recorded so far. Linden and the surrounding districts are also relatively quiet in terms of murders. In the area of robbery under arms at the end of August, there was a 3% increase with 692 reports compared to 672 for the same period in 2012. The statistics indicate an increase of 10% in the number of armed robberies involving the use of firearms, and a 7% decrease in armed robberies where instruments other than firearms were used by the perpetrators. You're watching Caribbean Affiliate News. We will be right back.
Since we announced Sign and Drive with 0 out of pocket and low monthly payments, cars been flying out of Bronx Honda at a record pace. Whoa! New Accord with 0 out of pocket for $249 a month, or new Civics just $199 per month, or save thousands with 0% financing. You never had to leave the Bronx to get the best price on the Honda. Bronx Honda guarantees the lowest price in the Bronx. Bronx Honda, East Tremont Avenue. Visit BronxHonda.com.